Hey guys, Two Drummers Podcast. This is Anton Peterson.
My name is Anthony Fung.
And today we're going to talk about practice routines. So I'm going to just get right to it and ask Anthony what, over the period of time since you've been playing drums, how often does your practice routine change?
Oh man, I think this is a great question. For me, practice has changed over the years for sure. I'd say some of my formative practice for sure was definitely when I was younger. Maybe when I was like 14 to 18. I was just trying to figure it out. I was like, oh man, I love this instrument. I love the drums. I just want to keep practicing. And I remember my friends, in high school starting to go and party and stuff like that. I'd be home on Friday and Saturday nights and just be practicing and listening to records and trying to figure out what all these great drummers were doing. But honestly, my practice has never been too regimented. You know what I mean? It's never been to the point where I've, had giant schedules or anything like that. There were periods in college where I kept the practice journal, and I definitely write down certain things that I want to touch upon. And I'd have kind of short-term goals and long-term goals. And often when I practice, even if I had an hour or if I had half an hour, best case scenario, I'd have 3 to 4 hours. I'd definitely work on things very regimentedly. You know what I mean? I'm doing, singles and doubles for 40 minutes. And then I'm practicing the Wilcoxon book for 35 minutes. And then I'm practicing the Jim Chapin book for 45 minutes. And then, practicing these independence exercises that my teachers would have, for an hour. And then maybe the last hour, I'd just play along to records. But throughout the years, it's definitely changed as far as even just the physical being of having a place to practice, you know what I mean, has changed so much. In college, it's easy because you have a place to practice wherever you go. There are drum rooms and ensemble rooms. You're always practicing, right? But then when I was living in New York, I was hopping around drum studios for such a long time. I would just be in a drum studio for 1 month, and then I'll be in a drum studio for 4 months. And often I would have to travel for 25 minutes, take the L train to the practice spot, and then splitting between 7 people in this like tiny black hole practice box in Williamsburg. It's like I would only have 45 minutes because it already took me 25 minutes to get there, right? But honestly, in that time, I got a lot better, in my opinion, as far as just like practicing and getting things together. Exactly, focused. Yeah. Just kind of that drive in New York too that makes you want to really get things together by seeing all these great drummers every single day and night,
motivation
right?
Motivation by
motivation.
Competition.
Yeah, right. So much competition, so many drummers. I can definitely name so many.
There's drummers, especially. There's so many good musicians on the planet, right, but there's so many good drummers.
Right.
Like I admire. There's so many good drummers. Like you can't discount anybody these days, especially these days, man.
Right.
The young guys are just
the young guys coming up.
Things up.
Yeah, you see guys like JD Beck, and he's coming through. It's like amazing. And then you have all these other guys, just everybody. So Kojo Roney's another one. I don't know if you guys know Kojo Roney. He's a son of Antoine Roney. I think he lives in New York, and I knew him when he was jazz guy. Yeah, I knew him when he was 4, and now he's just one of the craziest drummers. You know what I mean? Like I see some of these Instagram videos. I'm just like, saying probably some things I would never ever get to. You know what I mean? He's got this thing, this fire, but it doesn't matter. But to your point, just these young drummers coming up have such an opportunity to see people live, but also on YouTube, right? And listening on Spotify and iTunes. They have all of the materials in front of them. So do you start with your hands first? Definitely start with the hands first. Yeah, hands and feet actually at the same time. I try to keep an ostinato on my foot, even if it's just quarter notes or just like a bossa nova or some sort of clave, and then just practice singles and doubles. And then I have like a little exercise with singles and doubles and eighth note triplets and stuff like that, and some paradiddles and and then I try to play this there's this great rudimental ritual, this Alan Dawson rudimental ritual. It's about 11 pages long, and that's a great practice routine because in itself, the whole thing
in one sitting.
Oh, and nice. Of course, like if it's hard to get it perfect, so you take some breaks here and there, but it's just that routine of going from the beginning to the end. That's a meditation right there. That's a great.
So how long does that take? Half hour?
No, it doesn't take
10 minutes?
half hour. No, I'd say like 10 minutes. Yeah, 12 minutes. Yeah.
So some you just roll down. Kind of
Yeah.
like a stick control.
Yeah, it's like a stick control. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But what about yourself? Tell me about what you got going on.
My routines have constantly changed throughout the years. In the beginning, it's just more about actually being able to play something at all, right? So you get like the Carmina piece.
Oh yeah, the
rock,
realistic
drums,
rock.
yeah,
realistic rock. That was my first book.
That was
yeah,
my
totally.
first book too.
Yeah.
That and then syncopation,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Like, so I had this drum teacher when I was a teenager who got me into syncopation, right? So I worked syncopation and then realistic rock. When I first started playing, I was just teaching myself out of the realistic rock book. And then I used to Modern Drummer magazine. They used to have all the cool sections that had like breakdowns of stuff, and I would literally like the transcription. So I literally like just tear those out of the magazine and like staple them together and play them for hours until I could
go to the bookstore and just rip it out. It's like, the best page is gone.
Like, wait.
Who took that? Who took the page?
Yeah, I remember like my very first band that I ever got into, I basically just took a tape recorder and ran down all these double bass grooves out of the Modern Drummer that I had memorized. And I got my first band by just doing that.
Wow.
So thanks, Modern Drummer.
Shout out to Modern Drummer.
Shout out Modern Drummer.
Two Drummers podcast.
Yeah, Two Drummers. So for me, like, I went through periods of time like that I was into styles, right? And then I went through periods of time where I focused on one style. I've studied with some pretty cool guys. This guy named Efren Toro I studied with when I was at MI, his whole thing is organicness, listening to the accents of the music and kind of superhuman polyrhythm mentality, which is like polymetric in its idea as opposed to 4/5. It's his idea is like 4 and 5, right? So you're
4 and 5.
Yeah,
exactly.
so it's like you're playing in
sense.
4 and 5 at the same time, and then tap into
that makes more sense. Yeah.
Either one on either side of the fence. So for a long time I got super into that, and then as I get better, I would focus on specific parts of my body, like my feet or my hands. Focus on fills only or grooves only. For now I play mostly metal and rock.
Yeah.
So my focus routines are more like I don't practice jazz stuff that much anymore or Latin stuff. Unless it's in the context of of a skill that I want for my metal and rock playing. Right now, like I'm completely focused on just being as insanely good at what I'm kind of focused on, which is metal and rock.
Right.
Like, because I used to really like to spread myself out and work on a lot of things, but there's only so much time in a day, and there's like one skill kind of leaks into the other, but it actually start to like defocus you on what's going to make you an asset to that genre or you know what I mean? So it's like
absolutely
like if I'm playing a lot of metal stuff, I'm not going to be throwing out a lot of jazz chops. It's not that jazz chops aren't awesome or crucial or the jazz touch isn't crucial, but if I'm smashing away doing blast beats and playing double bass, double bass stuff, double bass. So playing double bass stuff, my jazz chops are always there because I've practiced enough of them that it flavors my style regardless, which I think is important. Because everything you've practiced is there, right? Whether you're super awesome at it at this particular moment in time, like my metal fills might have a jazz flavor to them.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like phrasing wise or whatever. So lately, what I honestly, the best results I've gotten have been the 6-way coordination exercises. Over the top. So there 2 sets of your limbs are always playing like an ostinato.
Right.
And then over that, I do the first 13 exercises of stick control. I do groups of 3. I do groups of 6. I do 5s and 7s. And then a few like funky stickings that I find were kind of tricky. That the more I keep doing, the better I get. And I make sure that I don't, this particular routine, I do it from memory. And I try not to read any of the, because you're using a different part of your brain when you read than when you're recalling.
Right.
So I find that these particular exercises, if you do them from memory, they kind of transfer over into the mental mind, hearing the subdivisions and the phrases and the articulations and how it they connect with all your limbs.
Right.
I find that by doing them from memory, it keys in on those things.
Right.
So I would say I do that exercise every day. And because I do so much stick control, I do less practice pad stuff lately because my practice time has been limited. And if I do practice pad stuff, I'm working just on motion fluidity exercises, because I find that like we were talking about this couple podcasts ago, which was snare stuff doesn't always translate to drum set
right
stuff.
It's completely different. It's a different touch. Yeah,
like if I need speed, I'm finding like that, my wrist motion and my wrist speed is more important for my metal playing to get me around the kit really fast than finger stuff or so I work on that wrist motion quite a lot, and then I work on how I keep my grip.
Okay, so I think today we've found out that Anton is a avid drummer and practicer, and I can't have that sort of thinking in my mind. So clearly we're completely different practicers. I'm kind of, today I'm just going to go inside the practice room and I'm just going to practice, along to this, gospel track today.
But that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool though.
It's very hard. I mean, sometimes I think about it. I have a ton of friends that are very regimented in their practice. I had a roommate back in the day. His name was Tommaso, and he would keep his practice journal, and I'd hear him at 6 a.m. just practicing away at scales every single day. And for me, it's so hard to be that meticulous about practicing. I mean, not saying that I'm not, or I've definitely had opportunities in my life where I've been a little bit more specific with my practice.
I would say
exactly.
That's human nature, right?
Human nature.
You gotta tap into, because you're a phenomenal drummer, so that works for you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no right way.
Right. There's no right way.
There's no way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely no right way. The right way is the way it works for you.
Right.
That's your own path.
Yeah,
right?
That's your own path. I think that's something we got to keep in mind over here.
Now, there are people have personality weaknesses that, procrastination or stuff like that.
A big procrastinator.
You got to overcome, right? I would say those are the things people got to work on and realize, like, if you don't practice, you're not going to get better.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah,
right?
You got to want it.
And I mean, there's every once in a while, there's those genius prodigy people that seem to not practice. I don't know if they're practicing in secret and then they're just saying that they're geniuses.
Right.
Or they're just, geniuses. You just never know.
Yeah, you just never know.
Like I remember meeting Virgil Donati when I was going to MI when he first came to the States. And you're just like, is this guy human?
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff he could do, like even back then, man, it was crazy.
Yeah. Well, anyways, guys, I think that will conclude our show today.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot and gone over a lot of subjects on practice. So at home, if you guys please tell us your practice routine, and if you have something favorite or some favorite exercises that you like to do when you're in the
we want to steal them.
We want to steal them. Mostly Anton wants to steal them.
Oh, yeah.
So signing off, this is the Two Drummers Podcast. I'm Anthony Fung.
Anton Peterson.
And we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.